Today on Locked On Phoenix Suns, we've gotten a lot of rumors, although they might not actually happen, of Jimmy Butler and what the Suns want to do. But today we got a little bit of a sense of what they might actually be able to do and what they're not going to be able to do, courtesy of Gerald Bourguet of PHNX regarding one Jusuf Nurkic. We'll break it all down next.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Phoenix Suns. I'm Brendon Kleen, staff writer at Awful Announcing and a credentialed Suns media member. Thank you for making Locked On Suns your first listen to kick off your Friday to close out your week. Don't forget, Locked On Suns free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So click that follow or subscribe button and do what thousands of other Suns fans have already done. Become an everydayer and get locked on to the Phoenix Suns right here each and every day. Today's episode brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on that last week of the regular season action with FanDuel, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and win $250 in bonus bets. Finish the season strong at FanDuel.com to get started. Joining me, as always, from the Wild West Valley, my fellow Suns credentialed media member. Happy New Year, Ben Garcia.
Yeah, new year, new me, new year, same Phoenix Suns. I don't know if you listened to that podcast, but my whole theme of it was like, oh, good, rolling into the new year with these same exact issues. You know, our buddy, I'm not sure how well you know this guy, but I know he follows you, Sam Cooper of the Timeline podcast. He came on with me multiple times when I was at Fox Sports 910, and we keep in contact through social media. And I guess he wasn't watching the game, and he tweeted like, I just now looked at the box score and holy crap. And I quote tweeted and said, I'm at the game. It's way worse in person. And you were not the only media member that skipped out. There was maybe 5 of us in like the front row, no one in the back row of where we usually sit. So it was, it was pretty funny, man.
You took the bullet for us.
I felt bad for a lot of it. Oh, because I've been a fan for so long, man. So like me and a couple other guys, we're just like laughing through the pain, but we're all upset. And I did feel bad for some of the fans though, man. There was no booing. This fan base is way too kind, because that would not fly in maybe some other states. But it was
honestly, the
effort.
no booing might actually be worse at this point, because there was booing in a few of the recent games. Maybe people are just fully giving up. But we're talking a little bit about what that loss means and sort of where the Suns are big picture today. We will talk about, the trade market overall and where the Suns kind of are on that buy-sell spectrum currently. Plus, we'll take our first look at all-star returns. Yeah, that's still happening, even if it feels like the Suns might not be too involved. But first, Gerald Bourguet, Ben at PHNX, put out a couple of tweets today regarding Jusuf Nurkic as we do discuss that trade market. He said, according to a source, the Suns are not actively shopping Jusuf Nurkic. Doesn't mean they wouldn't trade him, but the trade market is only now starting to get rolling, and as you'd expect, he does not have a ton of trade value right now. Might have more this summer as an expiring. He went on to say, after I responded, that to him, in this case, actively shopping means aggressively trying to trade him, so they're not doing that. Could still trade him if the right deal lines up or his value improves, I guess, is where we are right now. So, did this surprise you? Timing, specifics, any of it? What was your reaction when you saw Gerald pop up with that on Thursday, Ben?
Yeah, you and I both have a lot of respect for Gerald. It was funny because when I saw your tweet back, which was just on the variation of like, I'm not really sure what this means. I understood where you were like, this is such front office talk, and someone said this to him specifically, and Gerald obviously has correct reporting, but it was just funny because even Gerald was like, yeah, this is basically what it means. And when I saw this, the Suns when they were very specific about what they told Gerald, they're not actively shopping Jusuf Nurkic. Because who in the world walks into a store and asks for a Jusuf Nurkic off the shelf? The Suns have clearly made calls on him, but right now they aren't doing so because you can only call the same team so many times. I'm sure it has been, hey, Portland, hey, Charlotte, what would it take for this? And they said, listen, man, call me back in 3 weeks and maybe we have a deal. But I thought it was business as usual.
Nurk right now is, to keep your metaphor going, he's on clearance, right? Like the Suns are the store. Jusuf Nurkic is on a shelf in the back where this price has been scratched off 4 times, or there's 4 stickers smashed over one another. And whatever the price tag says now is, less than half of whatever is actually printed onto the box originally. That's where we are. Nurk has 2 years, let's call it $37.5 million. I think that's exactly what it is, committed to him. So 1 more year after this. And business as usual is exactly the phrase I had in my notes, Ben. And the reason that I say it is, number one, of course nobody is going to be chomping at the bit to get Nurk. But even if we rewind further than that, they were trying to trade him in May, June, July, August, September, October. It never stopped. They've never stopped picking up the phone when they get calls about Nurk. It's just they're not coming. And so that's what my mind went to. They already choreographed what this was going to look like. They're stuck with him because they couldn't even get off of him in the offseason, before the suspension, before he missed a bunch of layups, before he got benched. So, of course, they're not going to be able to do anything with it now.
100%. It's exactly what I thought when I saw this report. Jusuf Nurkic is a rollback item at Walmart that when you pull back the sign, you're like, oh my goodness, this was rollback last week as well. Jusuf Nurkic, I think it's a foregone. Like, if anyone's worried, and there was a lot of worry, and I'm sure we'll get into that in just a second here, but there was a lot of worry, man, of if Nurkic is still on my team, this front office is not even trying. Have you ever tried to it's like trying to sell ice cream to an Eskimo. Like, no one wants Jusuf Nurkic. This is going to be a deadline deal, or the Suns don't have anything to make anyone rush, is what I'm trying to say. They have 3 second-round picks and a 2031 pick. And Charlotte and Portland and Orlando's like, listen, man, we'll talk to you in a couple weeks. Your issues are not our problems. If we want to offload your contract, we will. But we're going to see if, I'm just throwing names out there, none of this makes sense. But if Miami or Brooklyn or Utah or the Lakers have an offer that they can outbid yours, everyone knows exactly what the Suns can give up. So this idea that they're not going to get rid of him, like, they're absolutely going to get rid of him. I have zero worries about that. It's just right now what the Suns are saying through back channels is, hey, we tried. Someone said that they'll call us if they have a need for extra picks and offloading contracts. But outside of that, man, this notion that the Suns front office isn't even trying is insane. It's insane. Like what you said, they've been trying to trade this guy since last year.
Yeah, to me, I guess, final word on this, damage control a little bit too, right? I think that, they know that they have a distressed asset right now. They know that it's beyond bad. It needs to get back to good enough to win some damn game level in the short term. Long term, of course, if there's a trade to be had, they'll make it. I'm not so convinced that it will happen as you are. I think that they will definitely try. We'll see if they're able to. But yeah, to me, this doesn't change a whole lot. But Nurk and the ability to kind of move on and cut ties with this situation is a big part. That in and of itself is a big part of how I'm looking at the deadline. And so I want to just jump into the bigger conversation of this episode, which is, I think, because the Suns are sitting here under 500, the vibes are terrible. Another Bradley Beal injury. Royce is still in a freaking boot or whatever. Grayson has a shoulder before he can even get back from the concussion.
If it helps my small reporting, I did see Royce walking without a boot yesterday throughout the so
he's graduated
arena.
From boot to still hurt, but no boot.
There was no limp. Listen, not really. I didn't actually think about tweeting this because I never want to be a reporter, and I'm not saying anything that everyone else hasn't already done. But he wasn't walking in a boot, and there was no limp. So I don't know what they just what they just injected him with to walk in the back. But I was like, where's this guy's boot? So sorry.
So let's get to, because of all of that, how far in should the Suns be trying to go next? First, today's show brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook, the best place to bet on the NFL regular season and, frankly, everything else, because the NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on that final week of regular season action at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can finish season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a W. We all love seeing scoring. Well, you can bet on scoring. Which players will score a touchdown? How many points each team will score? Makes it that much more fun. Player props for touchdowns, guys. Total point over-unders. They got it all. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. I want to plug my, beloved college basketball bets here to get you guys going on that easy $5 win. Wagner hosting Chicago State. I couldn't tell you anything about either team, but Wagner's minus 490. Throw your $5 down there. Get your 250. All at FanDuel.com. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, Ben, let's keep it rolling. I got the newsletter this week. One more before the end of this week. LockedOnDaily.com. Type your email address in. Get summary and additional content from the podcast. Get NBA analysis and great writing, fantasy advice, much more, all in one place for free. Best of all, you support the show. Okay. So let's piggyback off that last conversation, Ben. I think you and I read that Nurk report very similarly. We're in the same spot about his value. But you said the Suns don't have anything to attach to Nurk to make it worth teams' while. I think that they do. I think that 2031 pick is plenty. We've seen guys with a year and a half on their contracts. Jusuf Nurkic is playable, right? Like, we're not talking about Lonzo Ball where he was in a purgatory with injuries. We're not talking about Ben Simmons where he won't even come and report to the team. We're not talking about, some kind of dude in prison. Like, Jusuf Nurkic can come play for your team. He only has a year and a half left. He still makes less than $20 million when it's all said and done. Whether you're talking about this deadline or in the offseason, I think that pick is more than enough to get the job done. And that is my answer here to kind of kick off this conversation. Outside of small deals, which we can talk about, as I look at the Suns right now, with how ugly things have gotten, I am only making a trade as a buyer in a bigger move, quote unquote, with bigger salaries, if I can kill two birds with one stone. So in this case, I'm getting off of Nurkic and I'm getting a player back. Okay, we can talk about that pick. We can talk about, all of the seconds. I know it'll take more than that. So really it's the pick, but there's some other versions where maybe it's the seconds. That's how I'm looking at this. I'm not just buying to buy. I'm not attaching that pick to Grayson Allen, for instance, Royce O'Neal, for instance. But if I can get off of Nurk and get something, then maybe I'm starting to think about it. What are your thoughts?
I'm going to be honest with you. I thought that was always the plan. If you're going to get off of Nurkic contract and you're getting a player back, I thought that was the only way we were ever trading the 2031 pick.
Well, you could try, like I just said, you could trade the 2031 pick with Royce, with Grayson, with Brad. So I'm saying that doesn't get it done for me, because then I'm getting rid of Grayson Allen, who I happen to think is a good player, or I'm getting rid of Royce O'Neal. The Brad thing is kind of a bigger conversation that probably doesn't take us much in the direction we want to go here, but those would be the other options that I'm trying to compare it to.
Well, then I think I'm just so past that. I didn't think that there would be anything to attach Josh Okogie with or Royce O'Neal with the 2031 pick. I'm going to be honest with you, man. I think I'm putting together reports now where you had Gambo a couple weeks ago that said they're going to really hold on to that 2031 pick. And you have Gerald Bourguet saying that they're not actively shopping Jusuf Nurkic, which tells me the Suns have been unwilling to give up that 2031 pick in any trade for Jusuf Nurkic. Otherwise, I agree with you. I think he would have already been shipped away, because I think this Suns team is starting to worry about digging themselves a bigger grave. Maybe they're trying to exhaust, which is what I think they're doing. I think they're trying to exhaust every single avenue for Jusuf Nurkic and 3 second-round picks to get Nick Richards. Or they're telling the Charlotte Hornets, hey, if you don't get a better offer than that, let us know so we can make this happen. That's why I think this stuff has taken a while, man. They are really holding firm to that 2031 pick, and I keep going back and forth. I'm so wishy-washy with this, man. But this team, someone needs to be traded. A shakeup has to be made to this roster, and it could be as small as, I don't know, man, whatever, some other player coming back, whatever it is. I can't even come up with an example at this point, but something has to shake up in this lineup where even if you just start benching players, man, just benching Nurkic full time, starting Oso, something's got to change because the effort level is just not there. Once this team gets down, they completely turtle shell, and we just can't have it anymore, man. And I know we keep blaming the front office about this all-in mentality, or some people do. I get a little frustrated because this front office has poured every single asset they have into the team that they have, and now everyone's acting like all these assets suck.
Okay, first of all, let's not straw man one tweet you got mad about. Like, I don't know if everybody feels
that tweet's got 10,000 views and a lot of retweets and
I'm not saying that. I mean, shout out to our man, but I'm just saying, like,
who's our
I don't
man?
know if we can paint with such the guy who tweeted it. I'm just saying. Shout out to him.
Sorry, that sounded rude. I guess I shouldn't. My bad. I didn't realize that.
But I'm just saying, like, we don't know what everybody thinks, but let's talk about what you and I think. And when it comes to the all-inness, I feel like you saying that the 2031 pick in a lot of cases either was like already not on the table or shouldn't be on the table unless you're able to get off Nurk or whatever. Like, but that is an asset that they're holding on to. So I think it's valid if I'm a fan of this team and I want to continue to see them put every single thing onto the table that they possibly can, then I don't care about the 2031 pick. And people probably in that camp, they disagree even with me saying don't attach it to Grayson. They probably say attach it to whatever the hell you need to, give up any player that's not, Booker, KD, and get this thing back on track. So I think that there is probably still a segment of this fan base that would think that way. And as long as they're still holding on to one tradable asset, you can't say they're doing everything they can. They literally are not.
Can the Suns, okay, let me ask you this then. Yes or no? Do you think there is a trade out there that's not named Jimmy Butler that changes this organization's fate?
No. So then we get into like what I think that, and I already said what I think they should do. I think unless you're killing two birds with one stone and giving yourself flexibility in some way, shape, or form, it's not worth it. Yeah, I think that this thing is. I'm feeling pretty close to broken with this thing right now. I'm not really feeling any kind of optimism that this is going to turn around, even with Jimmy. And so, I don't know what that means. It's far too early to really have those conversations. But I'm definitely in the camp of try to hold on to whatever you can at this point because I'm also I don't think that they owe it to anybody to keep giving up assets to dig themselves a deeper hole when we're in the middle of a season that's falling apart. So I think it's fine to admit they're not giving everything they can anymore because they're looking at what's going on and saying it's not worth it. And I don't have a problem with that.
They haven't given every single asset that they have had in the past. They have used. Let's just frame it like that. They have until February, I think it's 6th. These.
They didn't trade. I'm not just pushing back to argue with you, but I'm pushing back to illustrate that, like, I think that there was a subtle switch in this front office's MO from the end of last season, probably at the time of that sweep and how ugly it was until now. They also didn't trade the Dunn and Oso picks, and they could have done that. We spent all summer imagining up draft night deals where that 28th overall pick went to wherever and some kind of great player came back, and that didn't happen. They drafted a guy. They even traded back in to get another dude at 40. So they've been kind of signaling to us that they're stopping short a little bit of quite so all in the way they were when they traded for Durant and Beal, but that was almost 2 years ago.
Yeah, I 1000% disagree with you emphatically. The Suns, just because they didn't trade the pick doesn't mean they didn't try to trade the pick. And we know Matt Ishbia and James Jones, they absolutely have tried to do that. And Grayson Allen wasn't tradable back then. Jusuf Nurkic was the only thing that was. So maybe everyone just said, listen, man, we don't want to deal with this guy for 2 years. Call us back in a year and a half. I think all of that is, and I understand some of it is just pushing back at me. I think it is completely disingenuous at this point that the Suns team hasn't exhausted almost every avenue to this point. But my final point would be this, and now I'm putting together every single report. Gambo saying that they're holding on to that 2031 pick. Gerald saying that they're not actively shopping Jusuf Nurkic. I think the Suns are still holding out hope for Jimmy Butler. And I know that there is these issues that they don't want Bradley Beal's contract. Well, there could be potentially a third team involved. Jimmy Butler is sending clear signals, and I'm not just talking about his hair, that he wants directly out of the Miami Heat. I don't know if you've seen some of the stuff recently, man. He's not even giving it effort. And this was the type of steps that we need
from the team for like 2 weeks.
This is the type of stuff that you and I talked about needs to be the next measure for Jimmy to force his way out. Now, listen, maybe he doesn't even want to be here anymore, but the Suns are holding out hope, and to use our every fun news aggregator term, monitoring the situation pretty closely over with the Miami Heat. And so for that reason, man, I still feel very confident that deal is going to get done. Do I think it's going to change the fate? Not necessarily, but at least you get some cap relief potentially.
I think this is in that tough situation where, as we kind of do this day to day, there's always the two paths of what we think that they are thinking versus what we personally think that they should be thinking. And I kind of am in the camp right now of that both are in line for me personally. I don't understand. I cannot imagine that the Suns are still feeling like Jimmy Butler is going to save this. I mean, what on earth would tell them that? Nothing.
I agree with you.
So I can't. I mean, again, it's hearsay. We're guessing. We have no clue. Nothing's.
But it's cap flexibility.
Until there's
like you
action.
Said, I think they would still go get Jimmy because of the cap flexibility at the end of the day. Getting rid of Beal.
Yeah, but that gets us to other what ifs of. I mean, they only get cap flexibility if Jimmy takes a team friendly deal. Are we sure that that's going to happen, or is he just going to get the same type of contract Beal already has, and you're not saving money then at that point anyway? So, I would have a hard time imagining that Matt Ishbia is watching this team night to night and thinking, let's add more.
Don't you think it's a little unfair to Ishbia though? To all the amount of, there is a lot, man, saying to blow it up or this guy ruined the team. Like, didn't you think that's a little not even a little, don't you think it's really outlandish for a guy that is, I think the only person not to blame for these issues is Matt Ishbia. Just the fact that he has been completely all in and has done, he's made some missteps, but his will to win has never not been there. I think that has just been crazy.
I have seen some of that from fans to blame him and blowing up a team that was good and this and that. We don't even need to do that because I agree with you that it's kind of ridiculous. But I do think at a certain point it's fair. This is now 2 seasons to just blame the guy for making moves that didn't work. You can fault what the moves were. You don't just get a free pass because you spent money and gave up picks and so you're golden. I mean, you made the wrong call. You get a pat on the back when you do it, but once it doesn't work, that gets sports. You failed. It's what it is at this point.
The revisionist history just drives me a little insane because I just hate that we're holding the front office more accountable than the players. Because at the end of the day, some of the efforts we've seen, especially defensively from this team, has not been there. I don't care if it's injuries or not. The best ability is availability. And the Suns' big three has not had that. And at this point, they're not even a big three. It's a big 1+1+1 at this point. So it just gets a little frustrating.
The front office is more so the rest of the other 12 guys on the team.
That's totally fair. That's fair. I mean, it's fair to be upset. It's not fair to blame the majority of these issues on the front office.
Yeah.
It's just going back to Cam and McHale, guys. Does everyone forget losing to the Mavericks? And then the next season they didn't take a step.
You think that's
like they didn't take a step the next year. That's why they made the trade.
Mikal Bridges is the 4th best player on the 3rd best team in the East right now. That's where he is at. You know what I mean?
It is really
Cam
nice.
Johnson is the best guy on a lottery team.
It is really nice to talk with you about this sometimes, so I can just know that I'm not crazy. Anyways, it just I'm like, oh man, it just drives me nuts, dude. Like, listen, we made some missteps. This is where we're at. We've made our bed. Now we're lying in it. That's what happens. It sucks. I don't like it, but that's where we're at.
Well, let's talk about one player who is bearing the brunt of the backlash, the negativity to this unfortunate Suns season, which is Devin Booker, who found himself very, very low in the first batch of NBA All-Star returns. Fair, unfair? We'll break it down next. First, today's show brought to you by the Gametime app, the best place to buy any ticket. We all love going to live events. Maybe in the new year, you are starting to plan out your schedule. Maybe you want to get out of town. Maybe you want to check a show out. Maybe you want to get out to more things and spend more time with the people that you care about. All of that can happen at Gametime. Gametime has also now made it even easier to get tickets for your favorite events with their new feature, Gametime Picks. This feature filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I already know off the top of my head, we got the She Believes Cup, which is the U.S. women's national team, is coming out to Glendale in February. Obviously, D-back season starting before long. You know, what, Suns playoffs? Probably, of course, right? We're going to the finals this year, so check that out. Get your tickets early. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets, no matter what you want to see with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime. All right, closing out the show. The NBA released its first batch of All-Star votes, Ben, on Thursday, and there were some surprises. So. LaMelo Ball, most notably, at the top of the Eastern guards, which funny, I like LaMelo, so I don't have an issue with it.
I do too. He's fun.
In the West, in the guard spot, obviously two guards get into the mix, and we don't have to go through all of All-Star voting because it's very convoluted at this point. But Shea and Luka were right there. Steph not far behind, and then a pretty big drop-off. But you have to go all the way down to 9th place in just the West guards behind guys like De'Aaron Fox, John Morant, and James Harden to get to Devin Booker. Also just above Norm Powell. I can't say I'm surprised by this, Ben. We just spent 25 minutes being very negative about this team, and they've earned that. But 9th place, just ahead of Norm Powell, I do have to say I'm a little surprised by that.
He actually wouldn't rank if he was on the East side. He has less votes than the person with the least amount of votes.
White
in the East. Okay, Brendon, before I get in trouble for saying what
Jordan
I'm about...
Poole, he has 45,000 votes less than Jordan Poole.
Before I get in trouble for saying what I'm about to say, do you think this is an indictment on the fan base for not voting for Devin Booker? Should they feel ashamed for not dropping whatever it is they're doing and voting for Devin Booker, which, by the way, I've never voted for all. I don't even know how to do it. So just so you know, I have no idea how to do it. I've never done it before.
At one point you used to be able to tweet it. You would just type in Devin Booker #NBA All-Star, and that was a vote, and that counted. I don't think anybody should be embarrassed for not putting Devin Booker in the All-Star game. He does not deserve to be an All-Star right now, and the Phoenix Suns do not deserve to have 2 All-Stars. So if KD's kind of a lock, and deservedly so, his numbers are still right where they should be, and he's a very popular player, and he's been healthy and all the things you need to be, he should be in that game. The Suns aren't getting 2. So, no. Suns fans should it's like, you know, if you're in a swing state and you don't vote for, you know, the election and you're making your statement. It's like that right now. Don't feel like you got to do it and kowtow to the man. No. Keep Book home. Or he's probably going to be to what? Like
he's going to go to Cancun,
LA,
or somewhere nice.
Something. Yeah.
I don't know where it's at this year. Oh, isn't it in Milwaukee?
Sure.
I have no idea. Here's what I want to say. Here's the really tough pill that we have to swallow here in Arizona that unfortunately we have to remind everyone of. not everyone. Now the Suns have the biggest fan base, which is why I'm so thankful to be on this show specifically, is because we do have the strongest fan base in Arizona and Phoenix. I don't think it's very close.
I thought you were making a joke about the NBA. I was like,
no. I mean in Arizona.
Yes,
most people are Suns fans. However, we are a little bit of a bandwagon state. We show up when the team is good. We saw it with ASU, saw it with the Cardinals. The Suns do sell out their games, but when they were bad, people weren't going. That's okay. We have never been a show up no matter what crowd. And honestly, I kind of applaud our fans for that. Don't support mediocrity. Don't say that this is okay. Don't just vote Devin. Like, I love Booker, right? And if I knew how to vote, I'd vote for the guy simply because I'm a fan. But I'm not spending the extra 2 minutes to go figure out how to vote. I'm just not doing it. I have no interest in doing it. But I think that it is disingenuous and misplaced anger to go after the fan base because they don't want to go out of their way to click an extra couple of buttons to vote Devin Booker in. And they'd rather vote someone else in just because maybe for integrity alone. And they just want to vote for John Morant because he's been better this year or whoever, right? Luka, who's been better this year. I think it is ridiculous to just think that Devin Booker should be a shoo-in because he's Devin Booker and that our fan base should back that. Booker's awesome. I love the guy. I have his shoes. I have his jersey. But we're not just going to A-OK this season and put him in anyways. And also, regardless of the injury, he wasn't good enough to be an all-star this year.
No,
at all.
43% from the field, 34% from three, assists. I hate to do this. This bothers me when people go, a stat is up or down when we're talking about awards. What does that matter? That was last season. I don't care if it was up or down, but obviously for his standards, it's lower. But even the efficiency, you don't really have to look much further than that. And the team success, as I mentioned, defense regressed. Like, what do you want me to do here? He's like, we can go through the other guys on the list. Kyrie, Ant, heck, Harden. I mean, like, I can't really poke a lot of holes in those guys' candidacies. They're on teams that have won more and they've been at least as good or better. And so, yeah, that's just where you end up if your team is bad and you're bad.
100%. And not only that, it doesn't shock me at all that Derek White has more votes than Devin Booker, who would literally keep Devin Booker out of the East top 10 of guards because it's Boston. Like, Boston's a world, it's a global brand. Like, they voted up and down with their teams. They all bleed green over in Boston. Everyone's the same fans, the same team. There's a certain amount of pride there in the East Coast or with some of these teams that we just don't have here.
Yeah, they're
that we're working
fan-based
on.
cheaters. They get the whole New England. They get the whole Northeast.
Yeah, we just get Phoenix. And we're a melting pot, man. But I think it is really unfair for fans on social media with players as their profile picture, which you know what I think of that. I just can't take it seriously. Scolding fans for not going out of their way for voting for him. Listen, I want to get out. I love Booker. I never want to trade him. I want him here forever. He has not been good enough to be an all-star, and that's that. I think it's crazy to go after him. So, but hey, listen, we could be in a worse position. We could have given Paul George $212 million over 4 years.
We got Suns at Pacers on Saturday night. We have 3 more games next week. We'll have recaps for you right here for each and every one. Monday through Friday content here on Locked On Suns. So hit follow or subscribe if you haven't already. Become an everydayer. Don't forget to sign up for that newsletter as well. Enjoy your weekend. We'll catch you next week.